The line was closed on the 30th of September 1994, and it was laid dormant for around about 10 years until we came on site in 2004. And as from there, we've basically refurbished the line, we've refurbished the buildings, we've refurbished the DMU, our multiple unit, and we've had a group of volunteers on site since 2001. But we actually started to run a service on the 3rd of October 2004, which is pretty much 10 years to the day that it closed by London Underground.
So in terms of heritage railways, a little baby really.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of heritage railways have been around for sort of 30, 35, 45 years. This is our third year. You know, it could have been considerably. We could have got here considerably quicker at the end of the day had we been fortunate enough to have the support of local governments or local councils, parish councils or otherwise. But unfortunately, we haven't had that, and we've had to do it all on our own.
There's a bit of a setup here, isn't there? There's a bit of a background to the line. There's a company that owns the railways and the land around it, and you run on it, don't you?
Well, the company that owns the railways, Epping Ongar Railway Holdings Limited, we run the train service on their behalf. They are, shall we say, they are the safety case holders. They oversee the safety on the line, but we actually run the service on their behalf. And we're the Epping Ongar Railway Voluntary Society, not to be confused with any other local society.
I'm sure there isn't a problem, but I mean, there could be, couldn't there? I mean, you never know what they want to do with the line, doesn't it? Does that lend an air of uncertainty over proceedings, or are they very railway friendly?
I think generally they're railway friendly. It's been a situation, of course, whereby they're businessmen. Obviously, they've invested in the line 10 years ago. They obviously want to recoup some of their investment, and to do that, they've decided that obviously they're going to sell off part of the goods yard here at Ongar. I have to say it's surplus to our requirements. We actually haven't used this goods yards at all to run the service we currently run. So by them actually doing that, it's not really going to affect what we're trying to do here.
And what are you trying to do here then, Malcolm?
We're just simply trying to do what countless numbers of railways have done throughout the country, and that's to run a heritage railway for the benefit of not only us, because we're enthusiasts and we like to do it, but for the local community and for the people that are generally railway enthusiasts, people that like to retain a quintessential English branch line. There's nostalgia really. I mean, there's lots and lots of youngsters coming up now, and it's the dads really that come here and they bring their youngsters with them. We want to give them something to look at, something they can be proud of, you know, something which is their history, as opposed to being the history of other people. It's part of Essex.
It's a standard gauge railway, of course, but just over your shoulder,
yes,
we have, well, it's a Finnish locomotive, isn't it?
That's correct.
Tell me a bit about this locomotive and how it and the other locomotives here at the line arrived here.
This locomotive is one of originally, I believe, 12 that were purchased by one of the railway owners here, Nigel Sill. and they were purchased originally, as far as I'm aware, for a theme park that was going to be built in Cornwall. Unfortunately, the theme park never materialised, and there were 12 locomotives which needed to be disposed of. A lot of them have probably been disposed of various parks around the country, but we actually have 5 of them here. 4 of them which are on static display are in our station yard, which were not working locomotives and probably never will be working locomotives. And the 5th one, which you see behind me, which of course is a working locomotive. But unfortunately we only have a 400-yard demonstration line at the 5-foot gauge, which is what these locomotives are. So we generally tend to bring this loco out for 2 reasons. One, obviously to keep it in working order, and 2, because it's a good attraction for people when they come to our gala and special event days. Basically, it's a 280, which is 2 front wheels and 4 driving wheels, or 4 sets of driving wheels of 2 each. It's a wood-burning locomotive. It runs to a pressure of 220 pounds per square inch, which is its working pressure. And as I say, what you see is what you get. You've got a smokestack up there, which is of the, if you like, the cyclone stack, which actually puts out the ashes before it hits the atmosphere. So it's basically a smoke arrestor, if you like, for want of a better expression. And as you can see, it comes. A lot of the workings are on the outside of the locomotive, unlike British standard gauge, but a lot of it's on the inside. And it's also air braked, which most of our locomotives were vacuum braked in the early days. But now, of course, we've got an air pump on the side of it, which is air braked. So there's not a lot of difference in the terms of British to the Finnish loco, except for these minor alterations.
Those of us that don't get the chance to drive locomotives, what's this like to drive, albeit a short distance here?
Well, unfortunately, as you quite rightly point out, it is a very short distance here, and it's really not stretching its legs at all. To be quite frank, it is a very responsive loco. It's very responsive on the regulator. Its braking, by sheer fact that its air brakes, is very responsive as well. And it's a wood burner. It doesn't burn quite as hot as a steam loco, so you have to constantly be loading the firebox all the time. That's really all I can tell you. Unless I can get it out on the main line and open it up, I can't really give you an idea of exactly how well the engine runs, but judging by the sort of track we have here, it runs extremely well.